Chapter 23. School of Ahole, 3 miles out. After Mr. Johnson had finished eating lunch, we both walked out into the yard on the right side of the house, facing the ocean. We walked about 50 yards on a grassy plain toward the ocean. As we approached the edge, we stood on a high precipice. It was about 50 feet high. I didn't have the least idea that he had brought me to this precipice when we fished the night before. He must have had some purpose of his own. I looked at him, and he was looking out in the ocean, so I waited. After a while, with a big sigh, he said, "Joe, look out yonder. See that wave moving up, and look into it. What do you see?" I replied, "I see the wave, but that is all. It is too far for me to see any moving objects." He said, "Keep on looking. In time you will see what I am trying to tell you." I said, "I know what you mean. It is fish, but I cannot see, as it's too far out." He then said, "I will get the binoculars, and you can look and see what I mean." He ran home, and in a short time he was back with the binoculars. There was a school of ahole, or a silverfish like mullet. To get these fish, you go out with a mackerel net and feed them live shrimp to get them into the net. All you needed was a canoe and 3 fishermen to do the job, but that would cost money and take time. He said, "I have talked to a few Hawaiians living around Waiohinu, and they told me it doesn't work. If it does, it will cost too much money. But one old Hawaiian told me that in the old days, these ahole would be right here below the lighthouse, and all you had to do was get a small net, surround what you want, and scoop them up." Then he asked the old Hawaiian what he must do to get these fish below the lighthouse. He told him that a ku'ula was hidden somewhere at Makale that would bring the fish in. Mr. Johnson said, "Then get it and I will pay you what you want." The old man, named Kema, said he didn't know where the rock, called the Ku'ula o Makale, was. He told the old man to ask around to see who knew. He waited for some time for an answer, but nobody seemed to know where it was. I listened to his tale. "Joe, only if I can get that rock, I'll be rich." This is what he was thinking all the time, and I know he had spoken to his wife about it. I asked him how long this had been going on. He told me about 2 months, and nothing had been done. I was going to tell him that if you don't understand the ritual of a ku'ula, a little mistake will cost your life, or the life of one in your family. But I figured all that he had was in his mind. I had a hunch that the old man knew where the ku'ula was, but on account of the strict taboo, the penalty would be death, and he would not trade his life for any money. I had in mind to see Kema someday and find out all about the ku'ula o Makale. I told Mr. Johnson that someday he would find the answer. We both walked back to the house. He changed his clothes and went to the lighthouse to help Domingo. As I sat on the chair, Mrs. Johnson came in and looked at me and asked, "What did you see?" I told her I saw the ahole as big as sea mullet. I heard her saying, "If only we could get that ku'ula rock, our troubles would be over." I knew they both wanted to find a way to get the ku'ula, but still the old man would not own up. I promised my mother I would not advise or condone on any artifacts for the purpose of enriching myself and those that helped me. That evening after supper, I took a hot shower and sat in the parlor and listened to the latest news broadcast from Honolulu. In the meantime, Domingo and Mr. Johnson came in and sat on the couch. I asked Mr. Johnson how the generator worked, and he said that Domingo had fixed and tested it, and it was running well because the voltage was up. I then told him I must return to Naalehu the next day, but he could see me there often when he came to the Shimizu Hotel with his catch. As soon as Mrs. Johnson was finished with her dishes, we started a game of cards called Kamau. We spoke of many things concerning me in my future work. They asked why I didn't come there to work in the plantation office, and then I could spend the weekends with them. It sounded wonderful, but I had other plans, which were to go to Honolulu eventually. The next morning, I got up early. We all sat down to breakfast and talked a while. Then I picked up my things and bid them goodbye and told them I would be back someday. As I got in the car, I saw that Mrs. Johnson was unhappy, as she would have no company to keep her mind busy. But that is the life of a lighthouse keeper.